Today I have another project that I need to get done. So this is my motorhome. It's a 23-foot Class C Adventurer with a Ford chassis, and it's got the V10. So it's actually a pretty good motorhome. It's got plenty of power. Recently we had it through Washington State and Idaho and Montana and Yellowstone, which is a pretty nice trip. And I gotta say, Montana I think was one of my favorite states to drive through. Anyway, the project for today is I gotta put that hitch on. So it's a hitch that was actually made for the Ford E350, but of course the Ford chassis stops back, well, right about there, and then it's just the motorhome kind of frame extending out to the bumper. On the bumper I have welded that receiver. That's not for towing though, I put a bike rack on there. It works great for the bike rack. But for towing I need something stronger. So the plan for today is I'm going to extend this frame out and then basically make some plates and be able to bolt this receiver to the extended frame and reinforce all that. So it should be fairly simple fabrication, some welding and cutting. The one hassle is on that other side, this holding tank, which I think this is the gray water, goes across. So I can't run it all the way, I'll have to put an extra brace to reinforce it. For supplies, I have this 2x4 1/8 wall mild steel and some 1/4 inch plate. This will be what I'll be making most of the filler plates and brackets with, and this will be used to extend the frame. And this is the basic layout that it'll be. So these are the new frame rails on each side, and then the receiver goes in the middle. Now the problem is I have 1.5 inches to make up. So the rails are actually 1.5 inches total wider than the receiver is. So what I'm going to do there is basically just make a bunch of plates at 1/4 inch. 3/4 inch of plates on each side, and that'll make up the space. I'm going to have bolts run full thickness, and I'll put some sleeves in here, I think, so that can be real tight and real strong. Here's the completed spacers. So that's 1 inch thick. So that goes there. And then this will be the frame rail. and I welded in some square tubing just to reinforce those bolt holes. So that goes together like that. I've got the first frame rail tacked in place. So what I'm going to do is bolt the hitch to it and then attach the other frame rail to the hitch, and that'll locate the orientation of the other frame rail. The reason I have to do it this way is because, as I mentioned earlier, on the other frame rail it has to go around that drain for the grey water tank. Alright, so that side is tacked in place and basically mocked up. Now we'll put that other rail on and tack it in place. Now it's basically mocked up in place. That one rail is tacked on this side. I haven't tacked this one yet. That's basically where it's going to be. So that should be pretty good, but now it's dinner time, so that's enough for today. I'll get back to it another day. Now I'm going to build a support to bridge from this frame rail to this new one here, and obviously there's the drain, so it's going to come across here. I'm going to have it bolted in so that it can be removed just in case this tank or drain ever needs to be replaced. So basically I'm going to use a piece of 3/8 plate steel and have bolts there, and it's probably not entirely needed, but it should help with some strength. So this is going to be the support brace that bridges that gap. I think it's actually 5/16 plate. I reclaimed it from the bracket from the hitch that I didn't use. So I just plasmaed it off, cleaned it up a bit. I'll weld it together, drill a couple holes, and then I'll weld a bit more plate onto the frame, drill and tap it, and then this will bolt to the frame. receiver is now structurally finished. I finish welded all the welds on the frame, it's bolted tight, and the bracket is complete connecting the frame underneath the grey water drain. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it all looks. I think it'll be strong enough. For towing, I don't plan on towing anything big with this motorhome. I'll have a utility trailer, and I'll also tow the Suzuki Samurai. So there won't be a lot of tongue weight, but I think as it is right now, it should be plenty strong for what I'm going to use it for. And the last thing to do is to connect the wiring. So I'm going to use a 7-way connector. I'm going to drill a hole through the bumper and mount it into the bumper. So that's it. I spliced in wiring from the Ford harness, ran wires down, and everything is done. Thanks for watching. Next project will be something a bit more fun, probably back on the Samurai or the airboat.